Stephen Grant discovers he's been granted the powers of an Egyptian moon god, but he soon finds out that these newfound powers can both be a blessing and a curse on his troubled life. Moon Knight is directed by Mohamed Diab, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, and written by 11 other writers, starring Oscar Isaac as Mark Spector, Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow, May Kalamaway as Layla Al-Fuli, and F. Murray Abraham as Khonshu. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the channel, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and we will be doing in similar fashion to what we've done with April's haul of videos here on the channel. We are trying to reach 15 likes for every video that's uploaded in May. So, you know, to push the exposure for this channel is very much obliged, and I always love communicating and talking with you guys related all things combat sports, films, trailers. You know how we do it here. But without further ado, let's talk about Moon Knight. With the introduction of Phase 4, I've really enjoyed Marvel's, with the MCU's expansion of the genres that they're now playing with, especially with psychological and paranormal genres with the likes of WandaVision and now Moon Knight. And with the words of Kalamaway's, when she done that featurette with that interview, and she said that Moon Knight is a combination of Fight Club meets Indiana Jones. She couldn't have been more right. And to explore these different genres within film, I think it's a very refreshing take on these characters, especially with the first 3 phases of Marvel only just kind of delving into really the kind of fantasy and the action adventure side of things, when really there are so many other expansive genres to play about with. And with this show playing into elements of psychological and the supernatural, this series has shades and themes of Memento, Fight Club, Shutter Island, and even at times One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, with it being both being a sincere tragedy and also darkly funny at times, which I found was a way of subverting the audience's expectations. And with this show playing into the natures of the supernatural, I wouldn't say so much of it being paranormal, because when you get into the paranormal side, I think that's something in itself that's trying to be more scary. And also with Moon Knight, it isn't in the sense of it being overly scary, but it does tune into that kind of, you know, what is on the other side kind of nature, that kind of mystery aspect, with playing with elements of the paranormal, but not going fully with pushing the envelope. And mentioning the supernatural elements, I love the duality between the different avatars that are played with Moon Knight by the use of, when one of the characters have the hot seat, the other character that's in the dark, they can only be seen through the reflection of a mirror. And what I like about that isn't the creators and the directors doing that for face value. There's actually a lot of attention to detail, because if you know anything about the paranormal folklore, they say that mirrors are a window to another dimension. And I think that was a really nice touch of detail in this show, because clearly whoever was playing with these natures of it being psychological and supernatural, they clearly knew what they were doing, and they weren't just throwing anything at the wall to see if it's stuck, or just to be shock and awe. Like, they really knew what they were doing with that concept of the dissociative identity disorder with the avatars of Moon Knight. Which leads me now to talk about Oscar Isaac. And if you guys may have remembered, I said that if Willem Dafoe can sell ice to a polar bear, then I'm pretty sure that Oscar Isaac can convince a lion that it's a vegan. Because man, this guy is absolutely phenomenal. It is definitely one of the all-time great performances within the MCU. You know how we talk about, you know, the Hugh Jackmans, the Heath Ledgers, the Robert Downey Jr.'s, the people that feel like they were actually born to play these roles. And the more that I look at what Oscar Isaac done with his personification and his vision for this duality that he plays throughout these episodes, I really do think to myself that nobody else could have done it, you know, because he just makes this character feel like it's his own, and you can see it just kind of ooze out of that screen with his performance. I remember vividly I think it's the third episode, the episode where they're able to turn back the night sky, and showing how he's able to go from Mark Spector to Stephen Grant within a heartbeat and change accents like that on a dime. I mean, honestly, it is superb work, superb artistry from Oscar Isaac. And honestly, I would say to any actor, inspiring actor, to really, in itself, to really digest that performance, because it's utterly brilliant. And really, I commend him, and I take my hat off to him, because man, what a performance. The 5th episode, Asylum, was honestly one of the best and darkest episodes that I think Marvel have ever done. I mean, that was heavy. That was traumatic. I mean, you know, we don't really get, you know, this is, an FYI, later into this review, we will be getting into spoilers, but don't worry, I'll let you know when that's about to happen. So if you haven't seen it, don't worry for now, but I'll let you know. But that episode, wow, just, you know, it was very reminiscent of Christopher Nolan's Inception, you know, going through the different stages, the levels of the subconscious within Stephen Grant and Mark Spector's mind. I mean, that was easily one of the best things the Marvel Cinematic Universe have done. I mean, it's up there, the top 10 things they've done, without a doubt. How I said near the beginning of this video, we're seeing Marvel playing around with different genres, and you can almost sense that Marvel are edging to being a little bit more darker, you know, especially when you're talking about psychosis and more in depthly with, you know, the supernatural and things like that. You know, you can only do justice by actually pushing the envelope on those genres. And I absolutely loved the survival horror element in the 4th episode, The Tomb. I was watching and I was thinking to myself, wow, they're really going for it. You know, I've seen my fair shake, my fair lot of horror, and, you know, seeing that mummified thing crawl around the inside of the tomb in that, I mean, it was good stuff, man. And I was like, you know, I think as well, when you do something that is in that nature of pushing the envelope or being R, or over here in the UK, and R's are 15 and 18 is NC-17 in America. But when you're pushing the envelope with darker material, I feel like there's more stakes at hand. You know, you make it feel more integral to these characters, especially if you dot your I's and you cross your T's and you make them 3-dimensional characters. When it gets to those intense scenes where there's quite the possibility that they could die. As an audience, it makes you feel more invested with the story that they're trying to tell. And, props to Marvel for actually going there, because there's so many times when, especially in the early renditions with the MCU, a character will get into a situation, crack a joke, and then all the attention has gone away, But I admired that they kept it the way it is with the tone, and they didn't in moments they didn't really divert too much and kept it in the moment. And again, props to them. Just to add, another thing that caught me off guard was the fact that in this series, they're vividly showing, not the, I believe if you're going to go with, if it's anything between 15 and 18, you would have to extensively show people being in pain for you to be granted that certificate. But in this, you definitely see bodies, dead bodies, and it's like, it's really like, the creators with Moon Knight were like, hey man, yeah, look, you kids, you got to grow up at some stage, I guess. So let's talk about May Callum-Away, and she was great as Layla Fully in this. And every time she was on screen, it was like she just radiated this warmth, and she's so inviting, just carries this lovely persona, and a good compadre and a good partner to Mark Spector and Stephen Grant. And I kind of loved how they done this kind of satirical, comedic love triangle between those three characters, especially in the 4th episode. And that was, added some levity and some, some funny moments into the series. Although one thing that kind of caught me off guard, again, it's not a massive stipulation to me or a massive hindrance, is the fact that with her character, she is an explorer. I mean, I guess is a better word for saying that, and when it got to the fight scenes, the hand-to-hand combat, out of nowhere, she's just killing people, stabbing them, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I think in the sense of the direction, when it got to that, they could have done it in a similar way, The fact that she's able to take out people with a certain ease was just like, I don't know if a historian explorer is just going to know how to start stabbing people and killing them, like as if they're Baba Yaga, It was just kind of like, I don't know, I guess that was for the entertainment purposes for the series, but wasn't a massive thing, but I just rolled with it, I guess. And when talking about the action, the hand-to-hand combat that was in this, when it did happen, it was brilliant. I think this is more of my own problem, because I did expect there to be more hand-to-hand combat. I mean, we got that in the 3rd episode, and I think the 1st and the 2nd, near the end of those episodes, you got action. The 3rd, it kicked off with a bang. The 4th was more of a survival horror. The 5th was more of a psychological kind of high concept mind trip, and then the last, they just hammered it home with the action. And I just think that with this character, for the future, I would definitely keep Mohamed Diab, because whenever the action did kick in, it was sublime. Khonshu, as the Vengeance, the god of vengeance, he was imposing, also very galvanized and rough around the edges, especially when he believes somebody deserves to get their ass whooped. You know, he kind of he's got that kind of deadpan humor with him a little bit. You know, that kind of it gives me that angry grandpa vibes. You know, and the way that he bounces off Mark Spector and Stephen Grant was a nice touch within the series. As my final thoughts before we get into spoilers, I will say that for Marvel and Phase 4, it was a breath of fresh air with how they told this story. And I think if you are a Marvel fan, I think it's either or. I think you can definitely see a lot of people liking this, and you can see a lot of people who are even maybe just new to Marvel in itself when they explore this. I think they'll find themselves thoroughly entertained, and had a great time with it. And as a quick mention, you know, rest in peace to Gaspard Ulliel, who passed away tragically in a skiing accident before this film had come out. This series had come out. Just tragic, man. Just it shows how precious life is. You know, no one knows how much time they got on this earth, and just such a sad loss. And I do have this sense that had he of, you know, 100%, if he was still alive, no doubt they would have had him integrated more within the Moon Knight universe, because in the comics, from what I understand, he plays a very big part in adjacent with Moon Knight, so as Midnight Man. So again, tragic loss, rest in peace. Thank you for giving to everything that you've done within filmmaking, and rest easy, man. So now let's talk about spoilers. Spoiler warning. We are now going to talk about spoilers. And here we go. Now, when it comes to spoilers, the two characters that I've left out to talk about, because funny enough, these are all of the problems that I have within this series. And now let's talk about Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow. Now, I find myself that this is always one of the main problems that Marvel runs themselves into, because I think that within writing, this is again my only opinion, that I think there's only so much that you can do with telling a 12A or PG-13. There's only so much that you can do justice by. Now, with me saying that, when we get to know Arthur Harrow, we only really get to know this character in third person, right? And we do know that with this character, that Khonshu had made him Moon Knight and as an avatar, right? And then you hear things like he enjoyed dealing out the pain as the avatar of Moon Knight. But then he does a 180. He then believes in Amit. And then he believes that, before the idea of Amit, is that people should be erased of the earth before they've even made the decision in itself to kill somebody or hurt somebody, right? And then that mystical power judges them, and then they're killed, right? Which is cool, but that in itself is a character arc. That in itself is something that really, you as a writer, you should be showing the audience. Now, and then he gets to the point of, but then it just makes me think, what type of person was this guy? Because he clearly wasn't a good person then, because that's how the rule of Khonshu is, that he picks the person that has done the most wrong in their life, and then they're made the the right hand fist of vengeance in a sense, and they swore to protect, against people that are innocent, against all evil. So that in itself is a character arc, and why they haven't shown the audience, I generally do not understand. And this is my problem. They are giving us stories that are, in a way, a core of the top empty that you're missing. If you do that, in my opinion, you go from your series being an 8 to a 9 or 10, especially if you pay good dividends to it and you do it justice. It can be great. But again, it's completely not talked about, left out. And I can't wrap my head around that. Now, and this is exactly the same thing that plays out with the character of Jake Lockley. Now, what I did think was going to happen was that we were going to get to the end episode, and what was going to happen is, it was kind of, I believe what would happen is it was going to do a memento and go back in time and go back to all of those moments where he, when Moon Knight with the characters of Mark Spector and Stephen Grant, they zap out of it, and both of them don't have a clue as to how and why they're in this situation, or that all these people around them are now dead. And I think that was a missed opportunity to show how, extreme and violent Jake Lockley is as a character. How he intervenes on those moments and just takes care of business. And I think that would have added, again, another element to the show that I believe that it's missing. And I feel like they're not doing it because they're scared, in regards to Marvel and Disney, that they're scared that they don't want to push the rate 15 or the 18 rating, because they don't want to lose their fan base. But if you do justice and you tell the first person ideology what makes these characters what they are, then you're doing the whole story a good service, in my opinion. And especially with how Al Foley's dad, how he died. We don't see it because, again, they clearly are scared to, it's like they've lost themselves. They don't want to really touch the dark, the proper disturbing, traumatic shit. They don't want to go there. And I just feel like Marvel are just shooting themselves in the foot, And to be honest with you, I feel like the MCU is in a different phase, a different generation. It's like the fans that grew up with Marvel for those 10 years, we aren't the same kids anymore. We've grown up. We're teenagers. We're full-blown adults. So I don't get why Marvel just thinks, you know what, let's just go for it. Look at the amount of people that watched the Snyder Cut. That was rated 15. Everybody watched it. No problem. Now, again, I'm going off on a tangent here, but there is a core character called Rahul Bushman, right? And he is the one that killed Layla's dad, and he was working with Mark Spector at that time. Again, all of that gets mentioned in third person. They don't want to show it. But that is a crucial necessity to writing. That is a first person ideology. That's not something that you just drop in the ocean and just go, oh, well, that happened. It's so annoying. And I don't like how Marvel just pick and choose what they want to show you. Just do the whole story justice. Just give us what we want. Because fundamentally with Moon Knight, it is a clever show, but it's just missing those core basics for a protagonist and for an antagonist. And you know, yeah, you know what's got to give. And just to mention, with delving into the psychological nature of Moon Knight, especially with how the ending ends, and we see Stephen, he goes from, you know, over Harrow, about to whoop him or kill him in front of Khonshu, and then you see him go from the asylum into back to Stephen Grant's his apartment. Now, I believe that what happens is that Jake Lockley, he takes over, right? And obviously they just end up back in London. And I believe that Jake Lockley is the avatar that makes Mark and Stephen think that they're mad by putting them in an asylum, when really he is the one, in a sense, that's doing all of the dirty bidding. And as you see with the end credits, the main avatar now is Jake Lockley. He's the hitman. He's the taxi driver. You know, moving like John Wick. So, final thoughts. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just wish that Marvel just stops dipping their toes, you know, with just give us a full meal. Just give us that. And with that, I will give Moon Knight a 7.5 out of 10. I think for Marvel fans, it's worth your time. Asylum as an episode the 5th episode was absolutely amazing. Brilliant all round. And yeah, guys. So, let's see if we can reach our 15 likes for this video. That will be greatly obliged. So guys, if you're new, subscribe, leave a like. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.